Let's speak to the Conservative MP for Stoke-on-Trent North, Jonathan Gullis. Jonathan, some tough words from Keir Starmer. Do you think that they will appeal to the public?
Well, look, I think if we've learned anything about Sir Keir Starmer is that there's lots of rhetoric, but when it comes to actually standing by and delivering on these policy positions, it doesn't actually happen. Let's not forget that Sir Keir Starmer was someone who was happy to have a second referendum, a so-called people's vote, lost in the general election, said when he campaigned for leader of the Labour Party that he wanted a return to free movement. Then he's ditched all these and has suddenly claimed to be a Brexiteer. He says he wants to stop the votes, but only seems to want to speed up processing, which doesn't actually stop the votes. It's an important part of the process, but doesn't stop people coming from mainland.
That's not true. He does, Jonathan, he does want to tackle the people smugglers. That's been a key part of his policy, is to attack the smugglers at source. And what exactly have your party done? What have your party done in terms of delivering on these promises? For example, the small boats crisis.
Well, that position is no different to what the government policy currently is. And we've given, let's not forget, nearly over £700 million to France in order to aid and support them in terms of stopping the boats, having more police patrols along the borders of the northern coast of France, enabling to make sure we have detention centres. Obviously, we've had the National Crime Agency operating and working with our European partners to tackle the smuggling gangs as well. But as we've seen with other international partners, it's going to come down to deterrence and putting people off who choose, let's not forget, to put thousands of pounds in the hands of smuggling gangs to enter this country illegally. And as I say, Sir Keir Starmer flip-flops on God knows how many issues so often. He talks about wanting to build homes, but opposes the government wanting to change the rules around nutrient neutrality, which would unlock 100,000 homes. He says that he didn't know what a woman was only 2 years ago. Then he said 99.9% of women don't have a penis. Now he's saying that a woman is an adult human female. It's a remarkable transformation in that 2-year period, bearing in mind he was going to copy and paste the SNP's policy when it came to gender identification, self-ID.
JG, loads in there. Let me make it more generic if I can, OK? Because this show has to be about looking at all sides and allowing the people who watch it to make their own minds up. That's not for me and Nick to do. Here's what I would say. Whatever political side you're on, for me, this is a seminal moment in British politics. For years, and we talked about it yesterday, when I was growing up, the Labour Party, Jonathan Gullis, was known as the party that just paid anybody whatever they wanted. Inflation went through the roof, taxes were sky high, the world wasn't great, our borders weren't safe. After 13 years of your party, and you know what I'm going to say because I've said it before, the truth of the matter is we have the highest taxation that we've had in 70 years. We have trillions and trillions of pounds worth of debt. Our borders are not secure. There's 170,000 people waiting to be processed. There's all sorts of problems. And by the way, yes, I know about COVID and I know about the legacy, and I don't blame it all on the last 13 years. I'm talking about the British people. I would think that looking at the Labour Party conference last week, which apart from Glittergate was quite smooth, your leader would be concerned that how do I describe this? That the power, the vibe is with Starmer. And I want to know what Sunak and you and your party aim to do in the next 12 months to stop a man who you say isn't fit to govern. What can the Tories do, Jonathan, to turn the clock back?
Well, look, what we've got to do, and what the Prime Minister has been doing, is setting out a very clear, bold vision for what change will look like, and someone who's not afraid to make tough decisions, some of those decisions which will go against former leaders of my own party who were also Prime Ministers in the past before. We saw those changes on net zero. I think common sense changes, like moving the ban of new diesel and petrol vehicles to 2035, like international competitors such as Germany, looking at making sure that gas people won't be penalised for having gas boilers in their homes, because again, that was also, I think, absurd policy, chasing some sort of eco-zealism that has no place in modern society. So I think that you're seeing a Prime Minister who's, let's not forget, passed the Illegal Migration Act, which was one of the toughest pieces of legislation, which did actually say it wouldn't necessarily be compatible with international law, but was willing to take that chance because he knows we have to do everything we can, and we have to, in the King's speech, continue to set out a very bold vision of what a Rishi Sunak Conservative government will do, and set out a very clear stall of how we will do that. And of course, deliver on some of those things, like making sure that we're getting house building off the ground, delivering on the levelling up projects that have already been funded.
Jonathan, we haven't got long, and I appreciate you've got the school run. Quick question, one from Nick. Mine is this. Do you have confidence that Rishi Sunak has enough time to turn it around. Because one of the things Starmer said yesterday was he won't call an election because he knows he's going to lose it. Of course, it's up to him. There's a 5-year term. He can do what he wants. Can the Tory party turn it round? Yes or no?
Yes.
Interesting.
OK, my question. I've got to ask you, Jonathan. A poll predicted that Labour have got a 91% chance of winning in Stoke-on-Trent, which is your constituency. Are you worried about your seat?
No, I'm not worried. I'm actually looking forward to the fight when it comes to the general election, because I can tell you we've had 70 years of Labour in Stoke-on-Trent and we've seen the disaster of that. And let's not forget that when Sir Keir Starmer talks about wanting to build 5 new Labour towns, well, the city of Stoke-on-Trent is a federation of 6 towns, all run by Labour, high streets decimated, houses not being built, people kept in generational poverty, new jobs not being created, and actually seeing ceramic jobs being moved overseas to China, whereas we've delivered on £56 million, the Levelling Up Fund, 17.6 million Kidsgrove Town deal, the reopened Kidsgrove Sports Centre, the Labour closed, a record £39 million investment into fixing over 30,000 potholes and resurfacing over 1,200 roads and pavements.
But Jonathan, you say
9,000 jobs.
Jonathan, you say you've done all that, but I'm looking here at data, which is 91% saying that it will go to Labour. You must be a little bit concerned. If not concerned, feel let down by perhaps you feel like what you've done and your behaviour in your constituency is worthy of a vote. But perhaps people are now not voting for you, but they're voting for the leadership and they're voting against Rishi
Or the
Sunak.
overall view of 13 years. Quick answer, JG, if you can.
You know, look, I'll be very clear. I don't deny the fact that it's going to be extremely challenging, and I've got to do a lot to convince people that, obviously, I am the change candidate. I'm the first ever Conservative elected in the seat's history, and that we have been delivering on things. Some progress has been slowed down because of COVID, because of the cost of living crisis, but I do believe firmly that people are not looking, and I've seen the data myself when I've been outdoor knocking, that they're not looking at Sir Keir Starmer thinking he's the solution to the problem. What they're actually saying to me is, we need a reason to get off our sofas to come out and vote for you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
And that's why I do need the National Party to deliver.
Jonathan, we've got to end it there, I'm afraid. You can get off your sofa and go and do the school run then.
Good man.
Thank you so much for joining us.